day? What is this? Where are we? Sunday 26th. Sunday 26th of July. That's good. Sunday 26th of July. It just occurred to me today that I'm noticing so many women now of a certain age are just in a place now where we've just gone, we've been like complying. It's not complying, but we have been tolerating a lot. Now, obviously we tolerate a lot because we're living in a defunct patriarchal society, and it doesn't serve women at all. It doesn't serve women, doesn't serve men, doesn't serve children, doesn't serve anybody. And we've been living under these conditions and doctrines, narratives for so long, and we're all a bit fucked off and tired now. We really are. We really are tired. We've had enough. We have been oppressed, living in thinking that since feminism, since the suffragette movement, thinking that since the 1960s, feminism, Germaine Greer, other feminist writers, women attending universities, being able to hold their own in the workplace, etc. We haven't really made a great deal of progress, and I'm sorry to say we've just been conned, and we haven't made progress really. We're just living under similar forms of oppression, just wearing a different mask, that's all. And women are now in a place where we are questioning and looking at and waking up to the fact that statistically that we're still being undervalued in every sphere, in every area of our lives, whether we be mothers, whether we be wives, whether we be accountants, secretaries, CEOs, artists, designers, police women, in whichever industry, we're still not being treated equally. We're certainly still being made to feel that we're not enough, we're not good enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not, we're not fitting the mould that men have devised for us, and continue to demonstrate through various medias, through various channels, that they still have an upper hand. If we look a certain way, if we don't speak a certain way, if we don't behave a certain way, if we don't fit the archetype that the patriarchy projects onto us, then in some way we failed, and in some way we are not to be taken seriously, never as seriously as men in the workplace, that's for sure. And if you're a self-assured woman, if you have a lot of confidence in the things you do, in what you do, and who you are, that will only evoke jealousy from both men and women. And so we've learnt to dumb ourselves down. We have learnt to dilute ourselves. We have learnt to take a smaller role or be a bit quieter. We have learnt not to stand up for ourselves or shout back or retaliate or stand up for ourselves, because we know that the backlash from doing that could lose us our jobs, or it could lose us security. Or now recently I have said, well, fuck all that, seriously, fuck all that, because I've been making myself smaller a lot, or when I've encountered female jealousy in the workplace or in just day to day, I used to believe that was because of me, that I was doing something wrong, or being provocative, or doing so, and I realised that actually it's not me, it's about them. So when I've had to be in the receiving end of other women's jealousy or other men's jealousy, it has made me question myself, when in reality I should have been more questioning them, like, what's that, what's that what's that attitude you're giving me, just for being, learned, for being educated, for being multifaceted, for having lots of different skills, for being good at more than one thing, for having insight, for having, creativity, for not being afraid to share that, to show that, for having, also abilities, strong intuition, for being able to see through the facades as well, for being able to see when, for example, when I was studying at university the first time round, there was huge prejudice towards female students. It was massive. Female students, we were never given the same regard, the same, if you like, status as the male students there. This has been ongoing. When I first joined a drawing group in my home in Brighton, I first joined a drawing club. Obviously, I'd done life drawing from the age of very young, but when I first made a sort of foray into the drawing classes, life drawing classes in Brighton in the 90s, I was given a little bit of I was side-eyed. What are you doing? There were 3 women, I think, attending the group, which had set up by men, run for, for men, was established by men, for men. And when I arrived, I was almost treated like, I was not welcomed very, let's say, but I was determined to carry on, because it was what I wanted to do, is what I needed to do, is what I was interested in doing. I wanted to do it. I'm going to be there. I made myself present, but I wasn't getting. Let's say I wasn't. I don't believe I was being treated very well. No, I wasn't, or seriously, or taken seriously at all. And this went on when I hired my 3rd studio. I went for an interview and I was advised that because I wasn't wearing dungarees or bobber boots, or had a cropped hair like a lot of women artists were dressing then, and I was wearing feminine clothing and wore makeup and had long hair, that I was advised that the cooperative of artists possibly weren't going to consider me based on the way I looked. Um, yeah, really. So, but that didn't make me dress differently. I didn't think that I should dress in a masculine way in order just to secure myself a studio there. No, not at all. So I mean, looking back, it's very easy retrospectively to see what really was going on. At the time, I took on this idea that there was possibly something wrong with me, why I was getting the cold shoulder, why people weren't taking me too seriously, why, I had sort of jealous women around me, why men were being a bit, my male colleagues were being a little bit off with me, let's say. Even when I did my degree a second time around, because I dropped out the first time when I went to do my degree the second time around, and I was already a mother and I was already in my late 30s. Again, I came up against a similar thing. Not so much, but on my course, the part-time course, a lot of the students were retired, and they were doing history of art for their own, let's say, like a hobby or just a point of interest that they perhaps wanted to follow through. Not having come from an art background, many of them, or any of them, which was really quite challenging for me. And I came up against male colleagues who downright rude, in fact, downright rude and belittling and mean. Again, female jealousy as well. So yeah, I'm going now, I'm saying, well, it was never about me, it was always about you. It was always about you in response to me being there, having things to say that might have gone against the grain, that might have been challenging for other people to hear, based on my own experience as an artist over the years. And I'm so pleased to see so many women who are now putting their foot down and saying, no, we've been living male doctrine under this false narrative. We're not participating anymore. And as I've realised that one of my favourite, I've worked in theatre and costume, Shakespeare, worked Shakespeare in the Park, Shakespeare Festival, Shakespeare, Outdoor Shakespeare, so I've worked in that arena as well, and so I know Shakespeare a little bit. And it's come to my attention that probably my favourite, or one of my favourite, I probably have 4 or 5 favourite plays, and obviously the sonnets, which are out of this world, but my favourite play is probably Lysistrata. And when I left the theatre company after having designed and costumed and set designed for The Tempest, and then Much Ado About Nothing. The year I left and I went to live in Spain and hired a studio in Spain, the company continued another year or another 6 months after I left, put on one last play, and I got wind of it later that they'd made their last performance in the festival about the Lysistrata, which I think that's an interesting Shakespearean play in itself. How Shakespeare interpreted this, and the comic value too. There's a lot of comic value in that play, and but the essence is that Lysistrata was, had a bit of pulling power and convinced other women that, you know, no more, men, no more. We're not dealing with you. We don't want you. You're not behaving well. You can all basically do one and leave us in peace. And the whole concept of that makes me feel, well, yes. So any woman right now who wants to get on the Lysistrata journey, go for it. You know, we are done. We have had enough. We've allowed men to dictate, rule over us, behave terribly badly, immaturely, not even grown up. I mean, the guys, the men who are in power, men, you know, who's got the biggest dick syndrome, they're running things, and it's all based on who's got the biggest dick. You know, not many of them paedophiles. You know, messed up in all sorts of horrible situations. You know, decisions made on what? What decisions what are you basing this decision making on? What? When I look at it real, when you see it, you can't unsee it, and you just like, wow, these people that should be actually, they're still in, not progressed further than wearing nappies or playing in the fucking sandpit. These people are running things, and you're thinking, wow, no wonder the world is a fucking mess. Because it's, John Lennon said, what is it? Maniacal ends. The world is being run by maniacs for maniacal ends. Well, yeah, absolutely. It's worse than that, though. I mean, for a man to say that, that's something, but it's way worse than even that. Way, way, way worse than even that. I mean, it's... And I come across videos sometimes of men saying, look, we want to step down, listen, we want women to do something, we want women taking over. But you see, men are so threatened because their idea of women taking over is women behaving like men taking over. And that's not what it is at all, because that's not how we are. You know, we're not walking around women, you know, comparing the size of our vaginas, for example, or tits, you know, unless you know. We're not like that. We're not even about that. We're not even about power. We're not even about that. We're about community. We're about, you know, children. We're about helping each other. We're about supporting each other. We're about communication. We're about peace, not passivity. We're about peaceful living. You know, we're not men. We're nothing like them. There's nothing even remotely similar, apart from being the same species, but we're yin and yang. We are poles apart. There's nothing similar about a man and a woman. We are polar opposites. We behave differently. Biologically, we're absolutely different. For a start, the way we think, the way we behave, is completely different. And you know, for men are so threatened by, you know, a woman with a brain, a woman with intellect, because to them that's a threat, because it, in a way, it makes them realise how fucking stupid they really are. I mean, they're not clever. They don't have the same level of discernment, the same level of intellect. They are not, they are, somebody has said in history, and it might have been Gloria Steinem, I can't remember exactly who it was, it could have been Gloria Steinem, and she said, and this is quite true, she said all women marry beneath themselves. And if you think about it, yes, they do. Because all these years, all these centuries, these millenniums, that women have been made to feel less than, because they are more than, actually. They're not less, nothing less about them. Nothing less about them. And as far as equality goes, fuck equality, women are better. Better. And I don't mind saying that out loud. And there are men in this world who know this, but there are many men in this world who are totally threatened by this. And these are the men who don't want to evolve, they don't want to mature, they want to be in control. They are usually in positions of power that they don't want to let go of. But actually they're harming themselves by, you know, by not letting go. And you know, it's terrible, because if you think about if we women were, you know, liberated, were free, were out, away, you know, we're not being oppressed, we wouldn't be starting wars. We wouldn't be we're not even interested in that. We don't have who's got the biggest sticker syndrome. You know, this is my land, it belongs to me, I'm having this, I'm possession, ownership, you know, all that BS. We wouldn't do that, you know. Okay, we might sulk. We might have a situation where, you know, no, we just isn't like that. We just don't operate like that. We're not interested in that. We're not warmongers. We're not, you know, we could say Mars and Venus, you know. And this is a sad thing. That, you know, there's so much destruction happens. If you observe children in a playground, for example, if you observe children from a young age, the boys picking up sticks, shooting each other, whacking each other, stabbing each other, whatever, and the girls are happily getting on with, you know, enjoying themselves, talking, you know, playing, being together, picking daisies, I don't know, doing nice things. And you know, you see it early on, you know. And I don't hate men. No, I don't hate men at all. I'm not saying that men are entirely shit. I'm just saying that they're not. They put themselves in these positions, lock themselves into these positions of power. And the reason they've got there is through denigrating and dismissing and defaming and demoralising, making women feel powerless. They do this with the fact they're physically stronger as well. You know, we have a judicial system that supports the man in the case of a man harming a woman in any way, shape or form. This could be domestic violence, this could be emotional damage, this could be, you know, mental, psychological harm, this could be physical harm, this could be rape, this could be all manner of things that a man is capable of doing to a woman. And our judicial system still supports the man over the woman. In this I'm referring to the fact that there's no punishment fitting the crime. You know, men are still getting reduced sentences. They're getting a minimum sentence and then a reduced sentence for harming a woman, whether it be a woman, female they know, or a complete stranger who they've, you know, attacked or raped or harmed in some way. As for domestic violence, when, for example, there was a case of a woman murdered her partner because of years and years of psychological and emotional abuse. And guess who went down? Well, it wasn't him. So yeah, if you think about who are these people who are high up in the judges, the lawyers, the those who pass sentence, coroners, whoever they are, whoever these people are who can wield power and make these decisions over people's lives. So, well, you know, they are not, it's not in their interest it's not in their interest to protect women, because often these people have a background or involved in something nefarious involving women themselves, often paedophiles. Sometimes, you know, they have their own issues with women, misogyny, don't like women. They're a part of the whole thing, you know. So this is wrong on every level. And these people who are, you know, in these positions of power shouldn't actually be in them at all. They shouldn't be in these positions of power, and they don't want to lose their, you know, their stronghold. They don't want to lose these places. They don't want to be, you know, because if they don't have, you know what I'm saying, they're hanging on for dear life. But yeah, things are going to change, and the more women who stand up and say, you know what, no, absolutely no, I'm not doing that, I'm not conforming to that, I'm not going to conform to anything that the patriarchy is like suggesting we should be doing. No, we should be living the lives that we want to live. And if you're creative, just keep doing that. Just never allow yourself, never allow yourself to be put down. In fact, in many cases, it's not worthwhile even interacting with men. For many women, it's not even worth interacting with men anymore, because all it's going to be doing is going to be like picking that scab you're trying to heal. Obviously, I have a few from my dealings with men over the years, including abuse, including domestic abuse, including other very, very unpleasant sexual abuse, all sorts of things I'm not going into now, but quite a lot, quite a big history of it. And you know, I feel that I don't want to interact really with men anymore, because it will be just picking the scab that I'm trying to heal. So, and I believe I'm not the only one. I believe there are many women out there who don't want to do that either, who are feeling that they don't want to work with men, they don't want to interact with men, they don't want to live with men, they don't want to partner with men. That's not to say that, you know, your choice is that you have to be lesbian or you have to be gay or transsexual. No, you don't have to do that either. Get a dog. You know, you don't have to. You can live a happy life without. You know, we've been conditioned to believe that we need that. We should be doing that. We should be the unpaid house, you know, the servant, the unpaid therapist, the unpaid this and that and this. You know, centering men. No, we need to decenter men, and men need to decenter men, because it's gone too far now, and unless we decenter men, we're never going to get anywhere. Anyway, there's my rant for the day. I'm going to end there because this has been probably more than 20 minutes, and my battery is about to go. So there, on Sunday the 26th of July, and times are changing now. And these times they are changing, better believe it.